Hi, I'm Ato, and I've been running a startup for the past 7 months. And after the startup, I've been implementing Claude and AI into the businesses for the past 6 months. And I've run a few webinars for university students and business owners to teach how to use Claude Code in the business. So today I want to talk about this new concept of AI operating system, which I've been discovering. So what is an AI operating system? Well, let me talk a little bit about how the business operates now to compare that to like this new kind of model. So I want to just remind you guys on how the business runs today, like in terms of how it runs like digitally, how like what apps like you use and stuff. So let's say you have an e-commerce business, so you have Shopify, right, to like do the actual transactions, and you have your like websites and stuff, and then you have Instagram to like do the marketing, and then you have email, and then you have WhatsApp, you have Slack for maybe team communication, and then you have meetings, etc. So you have all of these different apps that have different data, right, that is necessary for your business. And all of these apps and data are like right now scattered, as you can see here. Like all of these are represented as these small circles or like bubbles, right, that are not really connected to each other. And crucially, AI, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you use is like one of these bubble, right? So you have different apps like here as bubbles, but none of them are connected, and AI is like one of the bubble that is also not connected. So this is like how people operate business now. Like nothing is integrated whatsoever. But in truth, so everything should be connected, right? So you have Instagram to do the marketing, and then those customers come to Shopify, right? And they do the inquiry to email. And from Shopify, you have Google Analytics, and you have team communication in WhatsApp. So everything should be connected, actually, but nothing is connected. And AI is also isolated. So that's like the current situation of the business right now. Here comes the AI operating system. So instead of having the scattered bubbles, right, of different apps, you have this AI operating system, AI in the center, right, to handle all of the data, right, from different apps. So instead of having AI as one of the bubbles, like here, you have AI OS in the center. So that's what AI operating system looks like. So this is the fundamental like concept, right? How it works is you're using Claude Code, what's a tool called Claude Code, in order to build this AI operating system. So how it works is basically Claude Code is a super configurable like AI tool that you can connect to any apps. So Claude Code can reach to any apps and fetch data, right? Get data, and it can also go ahead and like look at the files in your computer. So you can look at the company informations and etc. So this is how it looks like. So this is just a quick demo, but you have Claude Code right here. This is my Claude Code, and you have files here. I have my YouTube like videos, you have YouTube like information, LinkedIn, like market, business, etc. Right? And my AI can look at all of these files. So I actually have files here, so you can actually see the files like here. So AI is able to read all of them, as well as like my analytics views, YouTube analytics, like Instagram, emails, etc. Like it can fetch like any data, right? So finally everything is into one place, but it's not just integrated in one place, right? At the center, at the core, this sits AI, this sits Claude Code. So now AI has the context of everything that runs in your business instead of everything scattered around. So AI can actually finally make decisions based on like what your business is currently looking like. So that's the whole idea. Well, AI operating system is built from these four layers, right? So the fundamental is the context. And then next one is data, and next one is intelligence, and then output. And I'll go one by one. So the first layer is the context, and this is really the foundation, like the most fundamental concept or layer, right, of the business. So this is like the unchanging information of your business, such as your like unique selling points, like competitors, market position, brand story, brand voice, and what your company is currently looking like, and like how much you're making a month, and like what's your KPI, like stuff like that. So this is really the context that AI should be aware of every time it does anything. So this is the fundamentals. Like this is really the context that AI really needs to get fed. So most people just go to like ChatGPT, right? And they just start a conversation here. They just say hello, and then like they talk about, can you create a report, right? But the ChatGPT has no information whatsoever about your business, so you need to explain it like every single time. And sometimes you explain it like fully, but sometimes you're lazy and you don't explain it fully. And that's why the performance of ChatGPT or performance of your AI differs every time you prompt it. And that's because your prompting is inconsistent. That's why you need to engineer the context. You need to build the context layer first so that AI fetches the correct information every single time. So that's the first layer. So this is the context layer. And the next one is data. So after having the context, your AI actually is aware of what you're talking about, right? But AI needs to also be aware of what's happening every day. So this includes analytics of revenues, like how many sales in a day, stuff like that, and the emails that you get, like meeting recordings, like Slack DMs and stuff like that. So, and the context is really the ground, but the data is the current flow, right, of the business. So it changes every time, and that's why you need to build an AI operating system so that it fetches the data. And actually, you can use Claude Code to build this system to like fetch the data every day. So the next layer is after having the data, right? So after having the data, you can't just have all of the data, right? Because even if you have the recordings of all of the meetings, AI doesn't know how to process them. Like even if you have the analytics, if you don't teach AI how to analyze this analytics, it doesn't know what to do with it, right? So this intelligence layer is after implementing this data layer, you have another layer, right? That teaches AI how to handle all of this data that's running in the business. So this is like how to read analytics and how to triage emails and how to read all of the meeting recordings in order to identify what happened in that day, for example. So the core message here is data alone is useless if the AI doesn't know what to do with it, right? So you need to teach AI how to do it. So now you have these three layers. So you have the context layer, right, which teaches AI the fundamentals, and then you have the data, right, that teaches AI what happens every day, what changes every day. And then the third layer is the intelligence. So up to here, now the AI knows like what is happening in the business, and it has a full understanding of what's going on and like what is important and what needs attention right now. So after all of this, after this fundamental layers are built, we have this last layer, which is the output layer, right? So this is where the things like finally start like moving. So this is the automation part of the business, of the operation system, right? So the examples could be like auto drafting a refund inquiry reply. So this is like a pretty basic one. But now that you have the AI, your AI operating system has the data and the context that it needs in order to do actions, it can finally actually take actions to actually execute tasks, right? So what you can do is you can read the context, right, and check the email history, for example, and then cross-reference with the Shopify order data, and then it auto-generates a draft for the customers. And because this AI operating system is built from the core, right, of the context and then data and then intelligence, and it actually like knows what to do instead of you instructing AI exactly what to do. For example, if you just ask it to create like a sales report, then it knows exactly where to get the data from, and it knows exactly what tone the report should be, and it knows exactly what that report is for, etc. So this is really where finally things get moving. And so many people, right, and most people, like almost everyone, right, jumps onto this output layer at the beginning. Everyone just go to ChatGPT immediately and then start saying, "Oh, draft email, like create this report, do this task, do that task," right? But you really need this fundamental layer first in order to execute any tasks. And after building this data layer, right, this output layer of like execution is really easier, like so much easier to build, because you have everything. Your AI operating system has everything that it needs to know, so it has all of the knowledge in order to move your business autonomously. So yeah, again, I said only all four layers together make the automations real, and if you miss one of them, it's going to break. So that's why you need to really build up this operating system, and this is how to like leverage AI in a true meaningful sense. And this is how you exactly avoid AI slop, right? So if you've been thinking AI is a slop, this is exactly why people jump onto this execution like output layer, right, immediately. But that's not how it should be working. So what's important when building AI operating system is don't try to be perfect from the start. You just build something, right? You just build your context layer. You just start from the context, right, with Claude Code, and you just get started, and you just grow the AI operating system with you. So you just start from like one project, and you do the build, you do the context, you do the data. Really just start from one project and always start from just one person. Don't try to implement this to the whole team, because it's going to be a chaos, right, if you don't have a clear like management strategy. So just start from small, and then you just build it bigger and bigger. You just grow the AI operating system like with your business. So that's how it should be operated, right? Instead of again jumping onto this quick automations. So again, to wrap this up, so you just got to start from context, the fundamentals, data, intelligence, and then outputs. So this is really how AI operating system should be configured. And as a matter of fact, if you're interested in installing AI operating system into your business, I do exactly that. So I teach you exactly step by step how to install AI operating system, and I create custom AI operating system for your own like business, tailored to each business, right? Because each business has different operations, therefore it needs different operating system. That's why it needs to be all like customized. Like the AI operating system that I have can only be used for myself. AI operating system for another person is for that person only. So it needs to be all customized, and I do exactly that. And if you're interested, please go to the link down below to book a call with me.